Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, we will learn about React Router. We will continue to enhance our contact manager application using React Router by creating different routes for our different components. So if you have missed the React fundamentals video, I recommend you to watch that first. You can just click on the card above and jump to it directly. Also, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. So let's get started. Alright guys, so this is the application which we built in our last video, which was the React fundamentals, and we can see that we have all the components are listed on the same page, which is on the localhost 3000. We have the header component, we have the add contact component, and we have the contact list component. But now what we want, that we don't want all the components to be listed on the same route, which is the localhost 3000. We want different routes and different URLs for our different components. I want that when I go to localhost 3000/add, then I should be able to see my add component. And when I visit just the localhost 3000, I should only be able to see the contact list, where I should have a button called add contact. And when I click on the add contact, I should be able to go to the localhost 3000/add to the add contact page. So for this, we need to use the React router. And the React router actually helps us to navigate between different components, helps us to change the browser URL, modifies the browser history, and maintains our page UI state without refreshing the browser. So to do this routing, we need to use a package called React Router DOM. So to install the React Router DOM package, I will go to the terminal and open new terminal. Then I'm going to go to my contact app and I'm going to write npm install react router dom save, and let's hit enter. And this is going to install the React Router DOM package. So meanwhile, let's go to our application code, and what we have a components folder. Inside the components folder, we had the app.js. And if we go to the app.js, then let's minimize this. Then we can see that here we have all the components one after the another. And this is where we are going to apply the routing. All right, so now our React Router DOM package is installed successfully. So if we go to the package JSON, then we can actually see that we have the React Router DOM dependency. And now what we are going to do, we will go to our app.js and we are going to import the React Router DOM. So from the React Router DOM, I need the browser router. So I'm going to write browser router and I'm going to give an alias as router. So I'm going to give an alias as router. The next thing I will need is the switch. I'm going to explain you each why we are importing this router switch. And the last thing we need is the route. So let's go and import the route. And all this are coming from React Router DOM. All right, so now we have imported whatever we needed, and the next thing we need to do is first we are going to set the router. So in order to set the router, you just use the router. All right, and now inside this router, you need to add your components which you want to be route. So I'm going to add all the three components first. So I'm going to cut this, paste this here. All right, now I have all the three components inside the router, but I don't want my header to be have a different route. My header should be constant throughout the application. So I'm going to exclude this header and then I'm going to add the routes. So to add the route, I will do the route, and the route has a prop which is called the path, where we can specify that what URL we want. So if I want to go to the add component, my URL should be the localhost 3000/add. And when I actually go to this path, what component you want to load. So for me, I want to load my add contact component. So let me add the add contact component. And for time being, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to just comment this out, and I will comment this as well. And then I will going to add one more route, which will be the slash, which will be by default the home. And when I go to the home, I just need to have the contact list. All right. And as soon as I add the contact list, I'm actually going to get an error because this contact list component is expecting some props. So for that, what we can do for now, if I go here and this function, the map is not able to find the contacts. So for now, what we can do, I'm just going to remove this and I'm going to add a constant as contacts. And this is going to have the ID. So let me have an ID as 1. Then I'm going to have a name. So this is going to be the page. And then I'm going to have an email. And this is going to be cs@gmail.com. And we are doing this just for now. So now, as soon as I save it, you can see that on the home page, I only have the contact list now. And if I want to go to the add, then I can actually change this add. And this is going to give me the add contact. But one thing you will be noticing here that when I go to the slash add, why I am seeing the contact list. So how it works, so first it checks this path. So in the add contact also you will see that there is a slash path. So first it will look for the slash add and it will take you to the contact add contact. But then in the next path also it will search for the slash and you will see that there is a slash. So it just matches the slash and it gives me the contact list. But if you want to do that, it should only go as soon as it matches a path, it should not go and look for the other paths. So for that, what we can do, we can actually write the switch. So the switch will do one thing, that it's only going to find the match. As soon as it finds the match, it will not go and search for the other routes. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add this here. All right. And now if I save it, then I actually misspelled the switch. Switch. All right. And let me change this switch here. All right. And now if I save it, then you will see that I am not able to see the contact list on my add contact. And if I just go on the slash, then I will be see the contact list. But there is a problem. The problem is that if I just remove this and if I add it above, then you will see that the contact list works fine. But if I go to the add, then in slash add also I'm able to see the contact list. So in both the cases I am seeing the contact list, and this is because the switch will match only the first route. If it matches the first route, it will not go and check for the other route. So that's the reason is if we go to the slash add, it actually matches this slash, and on the slash we have the contact list. So to solve this problem, we can actually add a prop, and which is called the exact, and this exact will match the exact path. So now if I save it, then you will see that it will match the exact path. That does it has the only slash? No, but it doesn't have only slash, it has slash add. So that's why I get the add contact. And if I go to my home page, then it's going to give me the contact list. So that's how it actually works. So the next thing we are going to do is that on the contact list, I need a button to go to the add contact, because I don't want to go to my URL and manipulate the URL and go to that component. So let's add a button here. So I'm going to go to the contact list, and inside the contact list, I'm going to add a button here, and I'm going to add a button, and this button will say add contact, and let's add a class name. So I'm going to add a class of UI button blue right. All right. And if I save it, then you can see that I have a add contact. But now what I want, if I click on it, I should be able to go to the slash add. So in order to do that, we need to import one thing, and that is the link from the React Router DOM. So I'm going to click here, import. And from the import, I'm going to do the import of a link. And this will be from the React Router DOM. So we add these brackets here, and that is because that this link component is not a default exported component. When there is a component which is a export default component name, in that case you don't need to add the mustache or the brackets. And that is where you can see that for the contact card we did not add any curly braces, but for the link we need to add the curly braces because the link is not a default exported component. So what we can do, we have imported the link, and we can actually add this link component here, and I will add this inside the link component. So I'm going to cut this and I'm going to add this here. All right. And inside the link, you can actually pass the prop, which is the to. And for the to, I can give the value as /add, that it want to go to the /add route. And if I save it, then you will be able to see that if I click on the add contact, I can go to the add contact component. So now we can actually go back here and we can go back and forth. So if I go to the add contact, and now let's try to add a contact. So I'm going to add a contact as test, and this will be test@gmail.com. And if I click on the add, then you will notice that we get an error, and that is because we are not actually passing the props from our route. So if I go back on app.js, and you will notice that right now we only have the component, but the real was we need to have a prop of add contact handler. So now the question here is, how do we add the props when we actually have a component in the route? So the one way of passing the props in the routed component is that inside this component, we are going to have an arrow function. So I'm going to add an arrow function, and inside the arrow function, I'm going to make this changes. And now I can actually pass the prop. The prop name was add contact handler. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add this here. All right. So this is one of the way, and we can do the same thing for the other one. So let me add the same thing for the contact list. So for the contact list, I'm going to have this arrow function, and inside the contact list, I'm actually going to pass this information. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add this here. All right. And now we can see that we have the contact list component, and we are able to pass the props as well. So I will go here and I will remove this because we don't want this. Now we are able to pass, and this will become back the props dot contact. All right. And now let's give a try. So if I go back, then you will see that I can see my contact list, which is coming from the local storage. If I click on the add contact, and let's add one new contact. So I'm going to write a new contact, and this will be new@gmail.com. And if I click on the add, then something is happening. The contact is being stored in the local storage, but the ideal case should be that we should be redirected back to our contact list so that we can see that the newly added contact, we are able to see it on the list or not. But if I go back, then you will see that my contact is being added. But there is one problem with this approach. And the problem is this: what happens when you actually add a component name inside the component, and React internally uses react.createElement in order to create the component. But what happens when you pass it inside an anonymous function? So each time when we visit the route or the URL, then each time the anonymous function will get executed, and each time we will be creating the create element. And that is actually going to do a performance issue because we just want to update the component which is created once. We don't want to recreate the component every time. So that's why we are not going to use this approach to pass the props. Instead of this, there is another prop which is the render, and we are going to use the render in the route. So let me show you what actually I'm trying to say here. So I'm going to remove this first. So let's remove this. All right. And instead of adding the component, I'm going to add another prop which is called the render prop. So inside the render, so the syntax is a little bit weird, but you will be able to get along if you write more and more code. So the first thing is we need to have the props. So I'm going to add here props, and this props will be a arrow function. And then here I can actually do the add contact. All right. And inside the add contact, we are going to destructure the props we have. So let's destructure the props. And after destructuring the props, we can actually add the props which we want to pass. So I'm sorry, we need to pass this one. So let me copy this. And I also made a small mistake. I need to have a contact list here. So let's add a contact list. All right. So now this is a correct approach when you actually want to pass props in your route. So now if I refresh it, then I still see the same result. So that's fine. So we need to change this as well because we are not going to use this approach to pass the props. So let me remove this, and here I'm going to add the render. All right. And inside the render, we need to have the props. And inside the props, I'm going to add the add contact. All right. And inside this add contract, we are going to destructure the props. So let's destructure the props and the pass the props which we want. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste this. All right. And now let's remove this because we have the routes properly configured. All right, now if I refresh it and if I click on the add contact, I'm able to see the add contact, and let's add the add contact. So the new contact will be Max, and it will be max@gmail.com. But I'm not going to click on the add, and that is because when I click on the add, I want my contact to be persisted in the local storage, but at the same time, I want to be back on my contact list page. So what we are going to do, we are going to add a programmatically route. The route will happen programmatically. When some event is triggered, the route will happen. So let's go to the add contact. So let's go to the add contact. I'm on the add contact, and where is my, okay, on submit. All right, and here what I'm going to do is, here after we clear the fields, we actually need to go back to our contact list page. So one thing I want to show you before I write any code, I want to console, and I want to do console log this dot props. Let's go to the console log. So I'm going to click on the inspect. I will go to the console log, and inside the console log, if I add something, so let me add max again. So I'm going to add max, and I'm going to click max@gmail.com. And if I click on the add, then you will see that I have some additional information in my props. So I have a history, and if I use this history dot push, I will be able to add a route where actually I want to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this now. All right. And we are actually going to do this dot props dot history dot push, and we can actually add the route which we want to go. So we want to go to the home page, so which is the slash. All right. And now if I save it, then let's do a test3 test@gmail.com. And now if I click on the add, we should be able to add the new contact, and we also should be able to navigate to the contact list or the home. So if I click it, then boom, we are able to come to the contact list. So this is how you can actually do a programmatically navigation from one component to other component. The other thing in the route I want to show you is the when actually I click on any of the contact, I need to go to that particular contact page where I can see the details of the contact. So for that, what we will do, let's go first to the contact card. So I'm going to go to the contact card. So I am inside the contact card, and in the contact card, we can see that we have the name and we have the email. And on name and the email, when we actually click on it, we should be able to redirect it to the contact detail page of a particular contact. So what we can do first, we will be importing the link. So let's go and import the link. All right. And this link will be from the React Router DOM. All right. So the next thing we will do that we are going to make this name and the email address clickable. So I will come here and I'm going to add a link here. All right. And then I'm going to add the to prop. So inside the to, what I need to have is I'm going to do an equal. All right. And here I'm going to add the link. So let me cut this. Let me add it below here. All right. So when I click on a particular contact, I need to go to the contact detail page. So for that, I will have a route. So I'm going to use a backtick and I need to go to a contact slash the ID of a particular contact. So we have the ID. So I'm going to do an ID here. So we already have the ID for each contact. So, all right, now if I save it, then if I hover it, then you will see that if I click on anyone, then you will see that we actually have a URL. So if I let me maximize this a little bit. So you will see that we have a URL, which is the contact, and there is the ID. But right now we haven't specified that when actually it goes to that route, what component should get load. So we are going to create a new component called contact details. But for now, if I click on this contact, then you will see that we have a different route. If I click on this, we have a different route. So we have different route for each of our contacts. And now we need to create a contact detail page where we can actually see the detail of the particular contact. So this is how you can actually add the ID. So now let's create a new component. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to create new and I'm going to add the contact detail.js. All right. And inside the contact detail.js, I will just going to do a copy paste of this so that we don't waste time. All right, and here I am going to remove all this. All right, and we don't have any props at the moment, so let me remove this prop and we will have an image. So if I go to the image, then we are using the JPG image. So let me change this to JPG. So this will become JPG. All right. And what we are going to return from here is a JSX. So let me add a JSX quickly. So we have a div with the class name of main, and all these classes are coming from the semantic UI. So we are using the semantic UI if in case you have forgot. So I'm going to add a div with the class name of UI card centered. All right, and we are going to create a card. Then I'm going to have a class name and we are going to use an image. So let's add an image. Inside this, I'm going to add an image src, and that will contain an alt tag of a user. So let me add a user here. And we have already imported the image. So after the image, I need to have a div with a class name of content. All right, inside the content, I need a div with the class name of header. And this is going to have the name as the page. Let's give a hard-coded value. Inside that, I need in another div, and that will contain the description. And I'm going to give as cs.thepage@gmail.com. All right, and now let's save it. And now we have added this component, so we need to add this component into our route. So let's go to the app.js, and inside the app.js we are going to add this as a route. So before adding the route, we need to import the component. So let's go and import our contact detail. So I guess we haven't exported the contact details. So let's go and export the contact detail. So let's change this to detail and change this to detail. All right, and now we can actually export it. So let's go here and export it from contact detail. All right, and now we can use it in the route. So if this is the route, then adding a new route here, which is the route, the path will be slash contact slash, and we were passing the ID. So if I go to the contact card, then you will see that we have an ID here. So we can actually refer this ID as colon ID. All right. And when we go to that particular path, we need to have our route, and this route will be the contact details. So let me copy this and let me add this. All right. And now let's try. And if I click on the page, then I can see that I have a contact detail. But if I go back and if I click on Daniel Mentor, then you will see that the name is still the page, which is incorrect. So what we need to do actually is we need to pass the information of a contact to the contact detail page. So right now we are in the contact card, which is this. From here, we need to pass the information of the contact so that we can show this information in the contact details. So how we can actually pass the information? So what we can do is inside this link, what we will do is right now I will remove this first, or I will just cut it. All right. So this is R2, and here we need to pass two things. First, we need to pass the path, and the next thing we need to pass the data as well. So what we will do, we are going to create an object inside this, and we have the couple of properties which we can use. The first one we will use is the path name. So inside the path name, I can actually give the path name, which is the contact slash ID. But apart from the path name, I can actually give the state as a property. And inside the state, what we can do is we can actually pass the information which we want to pass to the contact detail page. So I need to pass a contact, and this value will be the props.contact, because this props.contact contains the name, ID, and email of my contact. So I can pass this props.contact to this contact. All right. And if I save it, then now let's go to the contact details, and we have a props here. So what I'm going to do is the first thing I want to show you that what information we are getting in this props. So let's go and do a console.log, and let's write a props. All right. And if I go and inspect, then let's go back first. All right. Go to the inspect element. And now if I click on this Daniel, then we have a object, and this object is printed from the line 6, which is the console log.props. So if we go here and if we see that inside the location, you can see that there is a key called states. So if you can't see, I will just zoom it out. There is a key called states. All right. And in this state, we can actually see the contact which we actually passed. And this is what we wanted in order to display the information of a contact. So we can make use of this information and we can display it. So let's go back here. And now we know that we get the information in this prop, and let's destructure the information which we want. We want the name, we want the email, and we can get these both information from props dot location dot state dot contact. All right. And now let's copy this and add the name here. Okay. And we can actually add the email here. So let's add the email. All right. I have saved it, and we will do one more thing. We will be creating a button here so that from the contact detail page, we can go back to our contact list. So let's go and create a button. So I'm going to create a div with a class name, and the class name will be the center div. All right. And inside that, I'm going to create a button, and the button will be having back to contact list. And let's give a classes to the button. So I'm going to give a class name of UI button blue center. All right. And now if I save it, then you can see I can get the back to contact list. But if we click it, nothing is going to happen. And we know what to do here. We are going to make use of this link again. So I'm going to add the link here. Link, and inside this link we are going to have the button. So let me cut this. Let me add this button here, and we can do the to, and inside the to we want to go to the slash. All right, and let's save it. So now if I click on the back to contact list, I should be able to go back to the contact list. And if I click on Mike, I can see here Mike and his email ID. If I click on Max, I can see Max and Max email ID. If I want to delete it, I can delete it. If I want to add a new contact, let's add a new contact as Max again, and this will become max@gmail.com. If I click on add, I can see the new is added. So you can see that this is how easy it is. We are navigating between different components, and it's so quick and so fast because the page is not getting refreshed. And I have a little assignment for you that when you click on the delete, you should actually go to a new page which should be /delete, and there you can show a message that are you sure you want to delete a page, okay or no. If you click on the okay, then the contact should get deleted because delete functionality is already working. You just need to move that piece and take it to the new page. When you click on the OK, you should be able to delete it and you should be able to get back to the contact list page. So all this information is already there in this tutorial, and you just need to do a little bit of create a new component for delete and then do the functionality. So this is an assignment for you, but don't worry, if you get any problem or you get stuck anywhere, you can put it in the comments. I'm going to help you immediately. So that's all I have for this video. This is what the React router is, and that's it. You need to know this information, and even though it's a small application, you will apply the same thing, like how to go programmatically navigate the page, how to make the switch, routers, use of link, passing data in the routes, and the important thing is passing props in the route. So we have covered everything, and that's all you need to know. And if you like this video, a thumbs up is appreciated. Also, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. And you can connect with me via Facebook or Instagram. Follow me on Twitter for the updates. And thank you. Thanks for watching.